Hello and cześć. Welcome to the Warsaw Narrative, the first English language podcast about the history of Warsaw. Casanova, also known as Giacomo Casanova, was many things. Some would say greatest lover in history, but he was also a womanizer, a scam artist, a gambler, and a church cleric, among many other things. In his spare time, he was an author, fought in duels, and even escaped from prisons. He wrote about his long and colorful life, which lasted 73 years, in the Memoirs of Jacques Casanova de Saint-Galt, which is my main source for this episode. Casanova arrived in Warsaw at the end of October 1765 and quickly established relationships with several powerful nobles, which included the King of Poland, Stanisław August Poniatowski. The king was very welcoming to Casanova and asked many questions about his time with Catherine the Great, as before coming to Warsaw, Casanova was in St. Petersburg, spending time in the court of Catherine. For a long time, Casanova lived a quiet life, or, as he described it, the life I lived was really exemplary. I indulged neither in love affairs nor gaming. I worked for the king, hoping to become his secretary. Perhaps that's how it would have continued until fate intervened. King Poniatowski, being a great patron of the arts, decided he would like to see an Italian ballet in Warsaw. A show was organized in 3 days and included the famous Italian ballerina Anna Binetti. Not surprisingly, Casanova was acquainted with Madame Binetti, as 10 years before they were lovers for about 2 weeks. Now, the action moves to March 4th, 1766, to the Operalnia Theatre in Saski Garden, where the ballet was performed. After the show, Casanova wanted to congratulate the dancers and stopped at the dressing room of his former lover, Madame Binetti. Suddenly, the door flew open and a drunk Count Franciszek Ksawery Branicki walked into the room. Count Branicki was a politician, a military commander, and a personal friend of King Poniatowski. Madame Binetti was now Branicki's lover, and seeing a man like Casanova in her dressing room did not make Branicki happy. Casanova knew that Count Branicki was a powerful and influential figure, as well as a troublemaker. Casanova bowed to Branicki, not wanting any trouble, and went to exit the room. However, Branicki started to harass Casanova. First, Branicki told Casanova that when it comes to love, he does not tolerate any rivals. Trying to calm the situation, Casanova said that he yields to a noble man like Branicki. In response, Branicki called Casanova a coward, which caused Casanova to touch his sword, daring Branicki to draw his. At that moment, no one decided to fight, and Casanova eventually left the dressing room. The next day, as soon as Casanova woke up, he wrote a letter to Branicki demanding a duel to the death for this insult. Half an hour later, Branicki wrote back, accepting the challenge, arriving at 2:30 with his carriage and at least 10 people. Casanova got into the carriage alone. The duel would have to take place outside of Warsaw, as it was illegal inside the city. They stopped at a garden, and Branicki took out 2 pistols and asked Casanova to choose one. Then, both men stepped back 5 or 6 paces. As soon as they had taken up their positions, Casanova took off his hat and dared Branicki to fire first. Instead of shooting right away, Branicki lost 2 or 3 seconds aiming. At that moment, Casanova realized that he was an easy target, causing him to fire at the same time as his rival. As the smoke cleared, only one man was left standing, and it was the Italian stallion, Casanova. He felt a wound in his left hand, but ran towards Branicki, who was lying in the snow, which was quickly turning red. They took Branicki to a local tavern where they saw that he was wounded under his ribs with the ball coming out through his back. As Branicki was lying on a table in a pool of blood, he told Casanova to run for his life, as he is now a wanted man for fighting this illegal duel, and gave Casanova a sack of coins. After kissing Branicki on the forehead, Casanova ran off into the snow-covered countryside. Not knowing where to go, he met a peasant with an empty sleigh, showing him a coin and crying, "Warszawa?" Casanova jumped in the back, covered himself with a mat, and galloping, they made it to Warsaw. Unable to find his friends, Casanova decided to seek sanctuary in a Franciscan monastery on Senatorska Street. The porter, upon seeing a man covered in blood, did not want to let Casanova in, forcing Casanova to kick down the door. To make a long story short, Casanova spent the rest of March in the monastery, healing his own left hand as he did not trust the doctors sent to him. When it was safe to leave, one of his first visits was to Branicki, who survived his wound and was still in bed when he welcomed Casanova. The meeting was very friendly, with both men saying it was an honor to fight the other. They even drank hot chocolate together and parted as friends. King Poniatowski pardoned Casanova for the illegal duel. However, Casanova's enemies turned the king against him, and he realized it would be better to leave. In the end, as a way of helping Casanova and getting rid of the constant worry he might be killed in Warsaw, King Poniatowski gave Casanova 1,000 ducats to pay off his debts and leave his kingdom, which Casanova promptly did by getting on a carriage to Breslau and never coming to Poland again. Before I finish, I will tell you what Casanova thought of Polish women. Perhaps the greatest lover in history had really bad eyesight, as he said that, as a rule, the Polish women are ugly. A beauty is a miracle, and a pretty woman is a rare exception. Can't say that I agree, and maybe it's a good thing that Casanova never came back to Poland. Take care, and don't fight any duels.